Layoffs don't usually come out of nowhere, but most professionals miss the warning signs until it's too late. After working with thousands of executives and leaders over the past 12 years, we've seen clear patterns that signal when someone's role is at risk. In this video, we're going to break down exactly how to spot those signals early so you can take control before the company makes the decision for you. By the end of this video, you'll know the subtle but critical signs your job may be at risk, what company level changes almost always precede layoffs, and most importantly, what to do right now to protect your career and income. If you don't know me, I'm Portia of Fly High Coaching, where we've helped thousands of executives and professionals soar to their full potential in their careers. First, you want to be aware of organizational red flags. So this is just basically what's happening around you. Executives and professionals need to read the business, not just their role. In order to do that, look at leadership communication shifts. So is there less transparency, more vague messaging? Whereas maybe there used to be a company newsletter weekly or monthly that mentioned a whole lot of things, and now that's either stopped or the types of content in that has changed, for example. Is there a sudden increase in things like efficiency, restructuring, or cost optimization? And you might hear those words directly, but you might not. You might hear similar words and similar language that alludes to those things. You also want to think about if you see any budget tightening. So if you hear about hiring freezes, that's a big one. Reduced travel, reduced training, or discretionary spend. Those are all signals of budget tightening. Projects getting paused or canceled is another sign that budgets are shrinking. If you are listening to this and you think a layoff might be coming and want help structuring your job search the smart way, download our free Smart Job Seekers Guide linked below. Are there frequent reorganizations? I know there are a lot of clients we have where their company has been restructuring since COVID. Every year or every 2 years, there's been some new reorganization. Constant restructuring often signals instability in a lot of different ways. So you want to make note of that. Are roles becoming redundant or overlapping? Sometimes you can tell that HR or an outside firm is doing a job analysis. So they're going in and they're looking at everyone's job description and they might be redoing those. That's another clue. This next one I would say is a little more obvious to people, but declining business performance. So if revenue targets have been missed, if earnings are down, right, for public companies, that's a little more transparent and put out there. You can tell those sorts of things. And then other external signals like industry downturns, if there are key competitors announcing layoffs, that might be another sign. So layoffs, they're rarely isolated decisions. They're usually the result of a larger strategic or financial shift. And that is what you're looking for. The second thing that you want to be cognizant of is, I would say, role-specific warning signs. So what's happening to you specifically? When you think about this is going to help you to objectively assess your own level of risk within a company. So some changes that clients who've been laid off have seen prior to that: reduced visibility or influence. So they used to have a certain level of influence and now they don't. So now they might be left out of key meetings or certain decision-making processes that they used to be a part of. They might have fewer direct interactions with leadership. So if you used to be able to directly have skip levels or other meetings with leaders and now you can't, that's another clue. If you see the scope of your responsibility shrinking, so projects are being reassigned, team sizes are being reduced or redistributed to other leaders, that's another clue. Then this one is sometimes a little more obvious. Performance scrutiny is increasing. A lot of the clients that I've had more recently that have been laid off, this was the number one thing that they noticed: micromanagement. There's suddenly a documentation of work that was just assumed and fine before. Now everything has to be documented. Now there's all this time tracking on your computer. That's another sign. If there's an unusual focus on metrics or output that didn't used to be there, you need to keep that in mind. Something else that might be a change is that you're no longer aligned with strategic priorities. So your function or your department is no longer with a profit center or growth driver in the company. It's been reassigned to a cost center. And then another thing to think about is if there's a shift in company direction away from your expertise. So what your personal expertise is, what your department's expertise is, if they're moving away from that, that's another sign. I've had some clients in the past where they were really focused on one product or service line, and then they decided to discontinue that product or service line. They were at very high risk. And then you want to look for replacement signals. So if there are new hires with overlapping responsibilities to yours, that's a big clue. Or consultants or contractors are stepping into your space and doing some of the tasks that are assigned to you. It's important to keep this in mind that it's not always about performance. Many high performers are laid off because their role is just deemed no longer strategically relevant. So now, my third point here is what to do if you see these signs. You want to protect yourself strategically. This is where you shift from fear to control. And this is very, very important for your overall job search success, really, and your career trajectory. So if you've been listening to this video and you're like, yes, some of these things are happening, I don't feel good about it, you want to start building external visibility immediately. So update your LinkedIn with measurable achievements. Sometimes people feel awkward updating LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn makeover service where we can do that for you and really give you tips and tricks to not alert your current network that things are going on. But you do want to update LinkedIn. You also want to re-engage your network. So the people that you know at other organizations, maybe through professional associations, other colleagues that you used to work with, all of that. You don't want to wait until you actually need that network. And you also want to position yourself internally at the company. If you haven't been formally laid off, sometimes there are things that you can do to show that you're an asset so that you don't get laid off. And so to do that, you want to align your work with revenue, growth, or other high priority initiatives, if it's been shifted away or if it's not. And you want to communicate your impact clearly to decision makers so that they can see and make that connection. You want to document your wins. So however that works for you, some people write things down in a notebook, some people keep track of things in online apps, notes apps. That's what I do. But there are a lot of different ways for you to document your wins and what you've been doing. When you're documenting, you want to make sure that you're quantifying results. So revenue, savings, efficiency, you want to put a number to that, a dollar value, a percentage, some other kind of metric. And I've even had some clients create a career portfolio, a brag book, or an executive narrative. And so they're all different spins on similar things, but it's basically a collection of your wins and how you would talk about them. And at that point, you want to quietly explore opportunities. So begin having conversations, not necessarily just putting out applications. So conversations with people in your network that might be at other companies, other organizations, and other departments that might have visibility or knowledge of different opportunities in the future. And you want to focus on strategic roles as opposed to just reactive job searching online. And finally, you want to create a transition strategy. So this is something that we focus on in our programs, and we have whole courses on in our membership in terms of creating your customized job search strategy or kind of career plan. But you want to have a financial runway, and you want to know what that is for yourself, and you want to plan that out. You also want to have a timeline for a job search versus staying in your role, and really think that through. The most successful professionals, they don't wait for certainty. They act when they start to see different patterns. Layoffs are rarely random. They're almost always signals, both at the company level and within your role. If you take anything from this video, let it be this: pay attention to organizational shifts, be honest about changes in your role and your visibility, and take proactive steps now, not later. Because the professionals who navigate layoffs the best aren't the ones who saw it coming. They're the ones who acted before it happened. If you're starting to see some of these signs and want a clear strategy for your next move, we help executives and professionals position themselves for stronger, more secure opportunities. So check out the links below to learn more.